PJNet.TV at 9:30 on Tuesday evening, this second day of August, and that is the first Tuesday of the month, and that is the time reserved for Dale Didway to come our way with his stories, and he's got a lot of them. So he is standing by in our green room. We are streaming and recording, and we are ready to count down to Studio 10, starting now. Well, counting it down, Studio 10, and we have some decorations above me, right over there. We'll get to in just a moment. And Del Didway is on the road again. It's no surprise there to anybody. He is at an undisclosed location, but it's certainly not San Antonio. I'm willing to guess.
No, it's not San Antonio. It feels like it's San Antonio with how hot it is outside right now. Feels like it. Actually, it's hotter. It's so humid up here. It's a really, you walk outside, you just sweat.
You're gonna lecture me, being from Florida, on humidity. Okay, Dale, come on down to Florida.
Man, I've done that. I've done that where you walk outside and your glasses fog up. But it's like that up here right now. I think it was 7:30 this morning. We were getting ready to leave to go vote, and at 7:30, so I just went out to, we got these deer show up every evening to eat corn. So I was going out to refill where they come and eat at, and it's a 20-yard walk. And I got back and I almost had to change my shirt. It was so hot and humid. It really did. I was like, my gosh, I was only here like maybe 3 minutes, and I was already beating up with sweat. So.
It doesn't take long.
No.
Back from San Antonio, so you're on the road again. I remember it wasn't that long ago, Dale, that you kind of had to, I think you kind of hit the reset button, I would call it, and you threw you threw a lot of stuff overboard. But from what I'm hearing, do you feel like you maybe are right back where you started? You've got a load.
No, but it's fun stuff. So it's nothing that I don't want to do and I have the time to do. It's just all seems to be coming up at the same time. But we're going to get through it. We're going to, these next 2 to 3 weeks are just it's good, but it's chaos and it's nonstop. And I sent my wife my schedule today and all the stuff I have going on in the next. I don't know what is today. Today's the 2nd. I'm looking at my calendar now. If I can get to the 20th, I'll be good. But it's all good. It's all fun, good, meaningful stuff. But it's just nonstop, all over the place. But
well, and you signed up for most of it.
Yeah, I did. And so we have coming up this weekend. Actually, we leave Friday to go to Charlotte, North Carolina for a nice event that we're having at the Billy Graham Library and at the headquarters there in Charlotte. We have a nice 4-day event there. Angie gets to go with me to that. And then when I get back on the 8th, which is a Monday, on Tuesday, I have to turn around and go down to the parts of Kentucky that have been just devastated. And assist with the rapid response team, the Billy Graham rapid response team, for about 3 days. Then I'll get back on the 11th, I think, that evening, and then I have to go to Cincinnati on the Friday on the 12th for the Bengals' first preseason game. Leave Saturday for Lexington, Kentucky, for 4 days. Drive back on the 17th and head to Youngstown on the 18th, Youngstown, Ohio, which is another 4 hours away, and come back on the 19th for my first high school football game. And then the 20th, I can relax.
Okay. Are you even going to have time to do laundry? I mean,
and then sometime in between that, I just finished up one of the chapters on a book I'm writing, and then. This is funny because a couple of years ago, I don't know whether you remember this, when I was doing some writing for the Western Journal, one of the publications that didn't want me to, who contacted me to write opinions, and I wrote opinions for them, and they didn't like them, so they, politely said, we don't want these anymore. Um, just sent me a note this week saying, hey, we'd love to have some of your opinion pieces again. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that for you. So I'll start writing opinion columns again.
For
And
Western Journal?
not the Western Journal. There was a publication I was writing for that asked me
Uh-huh.
to write opinions, and I did it for about a year, weekly
Okay.
opinions. And after a while, they didn't like them. They had some people complaining about them,
Hmm.
and so they told me to tone it down or just stop doing them. And they asked me this week to start them up again. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'll do
I'll,
that.
for a year until they start.
Yeah, until they get complaints again. But so yeah, I'll find time to do that. I can do that in no time. I can do that in 20 minutes. So, um, but now it's going to be a fun
Well,
2.5 weeks.
it's one thing. I mean, and I can sense the frustration. You're asked for your opinion, you give them your opinion, and then they tell you to modify your opinion. Well,
Well,
no,
what happened in that they started to ask me to tone it down actually right when COVID hit,
right.
because I wrote a column that when you look back on it today, I was 100% right on
Hmm.
target.
Yeah.
But back then, all right, it frustrated some of these a couple of liberal professors at a local
Hmm.
university, where they called the newspaper and just said, if you keep running this guy's stuff, then we're going
Yeah.
to boycott you.
Yeah.
It turns out my stuff was right on the money, as it
All right.
always is.
Well, we're going to move on because YouTube has already made it clear to me that there's two topics that well,
Oh,
see, I'm experiencing the same thing, Dill, or
yeah,
PJ Net is.
yeah.
The topic of COVID
Hmm.
is, anything that we might say, well,
Yeah, the
it's held
truth.
against me.
Truth.
It's my channel, so I'm responsible for what my
Yeah.
guests say.
Okay.
And now another one, get this, is we can't talk about the elections, really. The and that's all I'm going to say. You remember the ones back then,
Hmm.
because that's those two topics are literally, I mean, policy. YouTube policy is that those topics are off limits.
Oh, I know.
Well,
But if I started slamming the former president, it'd be great. And if
oh
I
yeah,
started saying,
yeah,
all this other stuff, we need to, even though you're in Tallahassee and I'm up here somewhere, we should probably we be wearing masks when we talk to each other right now,
right,
right? Then they would say that's okay.
yeah. But
But
Dale,
even
you
though,
didn't. Now you,
even though I was hospitalized for 4 days after I got the jab,
yeah.
you know.
Let me clue the audience in. Dell doesn't have his professional microphone. He
Yeah.
forgot to pack his professional microphone, but he sounds good all the time. But
Yeah.
a good mic makes a big difference.
We'll just move on.
Well, anyway, but sometimes when people ask you for your opinion, you give it to them. Now they can take issue with it, they can disagree with it, but in this
Yeah.
case, they told you to dial it back. And I thought that's funny. The
Well,
only
I always backed up my opinion with this is why I believe
right,
this. I would hold, some type of a document. It wasn't just my thoughts. It was
you
my
weren't just on
thought
a rant,
right. I would back it up.
right?
And this one article I wrote, um, it turns out after about a year, I knew
Mm-hmm.
I was right all along, but it was, oh, wow, he was right after all. So anyway.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk about what we go. We got the CPE coming up, the Christian Product Expo in Charlotte. I'm sorry, in Lexington, Kentucky. God, my city's
You
mixed
don't
up.
know where you're going.
No, I'm going to all those cities, and we'll be signing Kentucky Passion there. We'll also find out we'll be signing one of the books you have up there, Florida Devotions. Um, I don't know if we'll be doing Florida State. I think they'll both be there. Both books will be there, or just a little previews of them, because they
Well,
don't come out till November 8th, I think.
yeah, I was going to ask you about that. These books are
Yeah,
coming out much later, yet clearly you've got the book covers. They're available on Amazon. Is that a pre-order thing?
yeah, the pre-order. I think November the 8th, which is before the Sunshine Showdown.
Uh-huh.
So it's in time for that. I think it's November the 8th, I believe, typically the Tuesday. So Yeah, we're excited. The fact I have four releases that day. I have Florida devotions, Florida State devotions, and they've redone the Alabama and Auburn ones to make the covers
Yeah.
look like that. They're relaunching these books because there's
Well,
even
yeah. Yeah.
way to the covers. Those launched during a bad time, and so we're redoing them and just a makeover.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
they'll be relaunched. It'll be fun.
Well, the book covers I'm seeing are well done, and at
Mhm.
first glance you would say, "Oh, it's the same cover on both." No, it's not actually. That
Right.
silhouette is a different silhouette. Don't know how
Mhm.
that. I guess they could have used the same one, but it's a nice. I like the design. I like the action silhouette.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
it's
all
kind of
about
like.
branding, and so that's how the Alabama one looks, and the Auburn one looks with their colors and things like that. So
Mhm.
it's all about branding and trying to get that brand out there.
Okay. Now, your name is on the Florida devotions
Yeah.
and your name only. But
Hmm.
your name and Andy Clapp and Bethany Jett, now you're listed first, and
Hmm.
that can't be alphabetical. So, how did you earn that rank to be first of the three?
The rock paper scissors is how it worked out. So
Oh,
no, I mean, and this is not egotistical at all, but this is my series of books,
it
the
is. It is. Yeah.
Stars of Faith series. So when originally Bethany wanted to do the one on Florida State with me because she's a FSU
She's an
gal.
alumnus. Yeah.
And so we said, sure. And somehow in the mix, Andy got tossed, which is great. He got tossed in there. And so we didn't want to say no. So we said, sure. So we all contributed to that
Mhm.
book. And and that's, hey, I think the more star power you have, the better. I mean, Bethany's platform is tremendous. So anything to help move books is fine by me. So, but I've typically written, the majority of them myself,
Mhm.
except like when I did the one with Kyle and Michelle and John. But these series, this Stars of Faith series, are typically mine, and I don't mind sharing the spotlight at all. I think the more the merrier sometimes. So I'm working on one now that we hope to have a contract on really soon. I've wrote another chapter of it tonight. I just like to get ahead of the game because I had an hour to kill, so I might as well write a
Oh,
chapter.
yeah,
So
a,
you know,
a whole hour. Oh man, you got it.
yeah, I had
Great.
an hour. Got back from dinner and had an hour, so I'm gonna write a chapter.
Let me backtrack a moment. You're going to Kentucky. It sounded like in some disaster relief capacity. Have they told you what you're going to be doing?
I'm going to be. This is my first time. I'm going to be just going to observe and to be of any help I can. I don't know what capacity. I'm not a part of the rapid response team yet. This happened in my territory,
Uh-huh.
Kentucky. I cover Kentucky, so what I've talked to other people who are more experienced in this and say, what should I do? And a couple of gentlemen colleagues have said, well, give them about 5 or 6 days once they get there to get settled in and get everything. Then reach out to them and say, "Hey, I'm coming down. I'm a regional manager. I can, whatever. If you want me to go get food, just kind of be a gopher. I'll do that. But
Hmm.
just to go and observe and help in any way I can for 3 or 4 days and just get the experience of it. And
Hmm.
um, this weekend when I'm in Charlotte, I'll get all the gear, the t-shirts and hats to wear, stuff like that, because I won't be wearing suits and ties down in the mud.
No.
So we will be going down to, and some of my partners with Billy Graham. I've tried to reach out to them this week to see if they're okay, and either can't get through.
Right.
It just rings and rings and rings, which means there's no power, or we get a notice that there's a temporary service outage. So
Hmm.
getting a hold of these folks is really extreme. I think I talked to 2 or 3 people out of like 50 calls. So we know the rapid response team and Samaritan's Purse are both on the ground there. We have the location of their command central. So we'll be reaching out to them probably on Thursday and saying, hey, I'm coming down on Tuesday. Uh, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do?
Okay. Well, when you get there, look around and you will
Mhm.
find the little yellow jacketed people from the various Baptist conventions that were organized by states. So you will likely see, probably, if it wouldn't surprise me if you weren't co-located in the same camp. I served as the disaster relief director for the Florida Baptist Association for 14 years. I was the first one in when a hurricane made landfall in North America, Mexico, or the Caribbean. So, United States, Mexico, or the Caribbean. But I did do some, and that involves a lot of flood work, but this you're going to is not the result of a hurricane. But here I did work some, in fact, in Ohio. We went up there. Everybody's got a basement, so we had to pump out the basement. But here's a little known fact. Disaster relief is, you think in terms of first response, rapid response, and all this glorious sounding stuff. And that's necessary. Here's the first thing that you do. You don't just go down there and get to work. You have to do damage assessment. You have to have a facility to house and feed the volunteers that are coming in. So the first thing you do is set up infrastructure so that when volunteers come in, they got somewhere to stay. Usually the gym of a church. some cold hard floors. But it is kind of frustrating for the local residents because they're wanting, relief, obviously.
Right.
And in food, it's hard to cook without clean water. And after a flood, a lot of times, we're not staged at ground zero. Our kitchen, we could crank out about 125,000 meals a day in our kitchen. Anyway. So don't be surprised if when you get there, it's more administrative type stuff getting prepared for. But it is
that's
some
what they're doing now.
nasty work. Yeah.
They got their Sunday, so they're doing all that now.
So when people in a flood, you actually have to wait for the waters to recede.
It's starting to rain again there. So.
Yeah, and you got to have somewhere to pump the water to. I mean, so the water has to go down. And it's tough because if you don't do your homework right, you'll go in there and go working on a house, and while you're working on it, the guys from FEMA come up there with that orange paint and paint it condemned. It's like, ooh. Anyway, but if it's your first time, it'll be an eye opener for you.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that, and I'm not looking forward to it by any means, but I'd like to go and help and pray with folks and just encourage them as much as you can, And I don't want to see this stuff, but I think if I want to help, I have to be exposed to it. So,
it's a roller coaster, Dale. You're going to see some stuff that'll grieve your spirit and wrench your gut, quite frankly. But you're also going to see some wonderful things.
Yeah, some good things that come out of it. So when we get back from that, then we go down to Cincinnati Friday night on the 12th is their preseason game. Looking forward to that. We got word. In fact, we had word today from the media relations guy that we're good to go, and they've opened up the locker rooms, which is great. Which means we'll be able to talk to players again.
Oh, that's good.
So, I'm sure it'll be somewhat managed. It won't be just a free for all like it used to be. I'm sure there'll be protocols but whatever.
They'll brief you on that. Yeah,
it's a step in the right direction. We were told last year that it'll probably loosen up, and so because that's part of the fun of it. Going to the game is going out talking to players and making friends.
I thought you just went for the food in the booth.
That's the best part of it. That's the main thing. So we're looking forward to going to the Christian Product Expo again in Lexington. That's where I'll be at when the next time we chat. I'll be in Lexington, Kentucky. Looking forward to that. That's in a couple of weeks. So got a lot going on, but I'll tell you what, it's fun. Wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, great work for a great ministry. I got a great hobby in calling football games and covering football games and writing books about football. So what else is there?
Well, I know that I'm literally on the last chapter of Sports Shorts, which is a little bit different than, it's sound like Forrest Gump. It's the same but different. But so let's see. If I were to get the next in the Dell Didway series, if I wanted to get the Florida State Devotions, I couldn't actually do anything with it until they wouldn't get here till November. Is that right?
Something like that. I think unless I get some advance copies, so hopefully I'll be getting those. I haven't seen them yet. I'm hopefully in Lexington I'll get my hands on a couple of copies. I hope, but we've only seen the proofs and the covers. So yeah, and then got those two coming out, and then we're on one now that'll hopefully be out next year. So
Have you started booking book signings and things like that for
yeah,
any of
we're
these?
gonna Bethany wants to have something down there and at one of the games, and so I'm gonna let her pick it. Whichever game she wants to go to, we'll try. And it won't be just show up. We're gonna have probably get a vendor's license and things like that, or find a bookstore that's close to the stadium.
Yeah.
And there's probably every campus has a Barnes and Noble, so we can probably get on there. And if we try, I'd like to get some Florida State alum or somebody there to show up with us, but those aren't easy to do anymore.
Well, if it turns out to be, I don't even know where they're playing Florida State this year, but as big, and you understand rivalries better than I do.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you that's a madhouse. But you've got the population there, and I guess if I were selling a book, that would, and you've got the emotion.
Yeah, and it'll be towards the end of the season, like all the rivalries are. I'll look it up right now. I mean, I'll try to find it. Florida State game. What is it? FSU game, 2022.
It's probably the Saturday after Thanksgiving, is my guess, if there is one in November.
Yeah, and so it'll be. Here's their schedule. Florida State schedule right here. I can't see anymore. Here it is. All right, so Florida, November 25th. It's at Florida State.
Okay.
7:30 p.m., which is a primetime game. So we need to get working on that. I need to get a hold of Bethany, and we need to get a hold of a Barnes and Noble down there on campus and see if we can get that thing in there and see if we can get Deion Sanders to show up. So that would be great. Or else Tebow or somebody like that from Florida. So.
Well, yeah, I think the last time Tim Tebow was at that stadium, it was not a pleasant experience for him. So, and they had a good team that year, to be honest, but we beat the snot out of him and sacked him like 11 times. It was terrible. I mean, it was.
So I got to get a hold of Bethany. When I get off here, I'm going to call Bethany. We're going to try to get something moving on that.
Okay. Well, that's
then we'll
good.
do that, and then we'll all go to Italy next year. You ought to get on board with us. Kyle's running out of rooms over there.
I've been to Italy. And
not for a serious writers conference.
No, but it was almost as expensive. I was on a tour of Europe, on those bus tours things, and we went to, the boats,
the gondola.
Yeah, where's that? Venice.
That's up in Venice.
Yeah,
Venice is the first city in the world to recently. They're going to start paying. You have to start paying to go to Venice to enter the city, kind of like a state park.
Yeah,
which is fine. I understand that.
Yeah, of course we went to Rome and visited all the things. We went to Vatican City.
Yeah.
But Vatican City is actually a sovereign country.
Right.
We had to clear customs to go into Vatican City.
I don't know if we'll go there or not, but I know that Kyle's already got some of it arranged. There'll be a day of conferencing, and then the next day we'll all go on a tour together. And then the next day will be a conference teaching, and the next day another tour and some pasta making classes, and it's going to be fun. And then Angie and I will take off for 3 or 4 days by ourselves.
Yeah, some wine tasting and things like that.
Yeah, we don't drink wine, but there'll be something, cheese and whatever. If there's cheese tasting, there's got to be some crackers or something, I hope.
They know how to eat. We had some pretty good meals over there, including pasta. But they had a red, green, and white pasta in the flag. They made a flag out of pasta. I remember that. But
Bethany's going. Bethany and her husband. Bethany's whole family's going to go. She'll take her whole family to that.
Yeah.
And I know Julia Lavender and her husband are going. Me and Kyle, and obviously Patty, and me and Angie, and I'm not sure everybody else who's going. Just haven't been able to talk to Kyle long enough to figure out who's going. But
when might this be? Next summer?
It's in March. Yeah, it's in March next year.
Okay. Well, you say that's a long ways away, but if you do not have a passport, well,
you get it.
You better get it,
Yeah,
And
we already got our flights booked and everything, so we're all set to go.
yeah, passport is good for 10 years,
10 years.
but
Yep.
they're not the easiest thing in the world to get. It's not like a driver's license.
No, that
Uh,
takes a while, but it's all good. But we're excited about it. But for right now, our focus is going to be on going down to Charlotte for the weekend, and then heading to Kentucky to help and pray with folks and encourage them, and then the Bengals, and then Youngstown. I have to go up there for a God Loves You tour praise service, prayer and praise service in preparation for Franklin Graham coming there in September. So a lot going on, but I tell you what, I'd rather do this than be bored.
well, all you got to do is just hold your nose to the grindstone through the 20th, and on the
Yeah,
20th you can kick back
take
and
a couple days off.
unwind and do some laundry, probably.
Yeah, and then
Um,
we'll be going to Dallas soon for the Bengals game. So a lot going on. We're excited. In a good mood. Had a good day today with work. So things
well,
are going well.
folks, the hotel Wi-Fi held up. How about
It did
that?
hold on. Surprised me because earlier was kind of shaky, but but yeah, appreciate everybody being out there, and looking forward to the Florida State devotions, Florida devotions, launching in November, along with the Alabama and Auburn devotions. The relaunch of those, they changed the name to those. Used to
Mhm.
it was Bama Believer,
Okay.
and now it's Alabama devotions. To stay in line with this
Yeah,
brand.
I kind of like the marketing, the cover. There's some consistency, and you can just
Yeah,
use the school colors as you've done here, and there's some
yep,
continuity in the
yeah.
brand, which I think
So
is good.
we're talking about relaunching my first book, Buckeye Believer, with them. We'll see what happens, but
Hmm.
because that would be a good fit. Called Ohio State Devotions would be a good fit, and just relaunch it that way as well. Just on down the line.
Yeah. Well, Dale, things
Always
are.
keep them moving.
You're like your life is like being in a blender sometimes,
Yeah.
but again, you signed up for it, and I'm happy for you. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
because
I'm not
so
doing
many
anything I don't
people,
want to
wish they had as much to do as you do. Yeah, I hope someday to be that busy myself.
do.
So maybe
After football season, it'll calm down again.
you never know. All right, well, Dale, I know you're on the road, and our Wi-Fi has held up all this long, so we
Mhm.
better quit while we're ahead. But I appreciate you taking time. I guess you were kind of lonesome and needed some company anyway, so
Sure.
But we appreciate you sharing, Dale. We'll see you a couple weeks from
Thank
now.
you.
All
Yep.
right, my man. All right, Dale Didway, right here on PJNet.TV. How would you like to be uh, in a whirlwind schedule like that? How would you handle that? Could you handle that? Well, we need to be ready for that because God has something for us to do. And there may be seasons that are slower and there may be seasons that are faster, but regardless, we need to be prepared and ready to be at the service of our Lord. All right, so that wraps it up for today. Now, Barbara Byers has been busy. Speaking of that, she is booking people like crazy. But a weird thing's kind of going on. A lot of the people that we're booking are for, not this week or next week, but late this month or even September. Or so the schedule is filling up, but gosh, she is so busy. You all have no idea, and she's gotten so good at it, and we really appreciate the work that goes on that so many people don't know about. Good to see everybody in our chat room, and it's just a wonderful fellowship. Before I leave, I'd like to, as I always do, ask you to ask yourself 2 questions and be honest with yourself. What is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And the second question is, when was that? And the challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.